welcome back to HITC Football. I hope you're all having a great day, and in today's video we're going to be looking at one transfer that every Premier League club needs. Now, just for context, we're going to go through every single Premier League team and lay down one player that they need to get this window. We're going to try and be as realistic as possible. No wacky signings that, there's a lot of clubs that could do with a certain player but can't get them or are unlikely to get them. So just so you know, we're going to be real about the whole thing. If you do enjoy the video that you're about to see, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and also leave a comment down below letting me know if I'm right or if there was a better choice, better option. The beauty of opinion. So let's crack straight into it with our first team. Team number one, we're going to go with Manchester City. Manchester City already have a brilliant squad. They're stacked in every position in the pitch. But I think if they were to bring somebody in, they need a Fernandinho replacement. Someone that can kind of play centre-back, mainly CDM, also cover for Rodri or rotation for Rodri. So my pick is Kalvin Phillips of Leeds. I think he'd just be a good pick. We see some players, the likes of Jack Grealish, go up and struggle at a bigger club to where they were previously. Especially in their first season. I do think Jack Grealish is going to come back into form in the upcoming season or maybe the season after. But Kalvin Phillips to me is perfect. He's an English player, so you've got that English player tax. But he is the type of signing that Man City A, can afford, and B, I think just would be good. He didn't have a great season this season due to injury, but since coming back he's looked quite good. He's been fantastic whenever he's played in an England shirt, so clearly plays well under pressure. So I think for Manchester City, Kalvin Phillips is your guy. So Man City, Kalvin Phillips, makes sense. Up next we go to the villains. We go to Aston Villa. Aston Villa, after making Coutinho permanent, that would have been my pick at the time of recording. He's been made permanent. Also as well, it looks like they're getting Diego Carlos in. But I just think with Mings, he hasn't been great. He seems to, I just don't know with Mings. I just don't think for a club that's trying to get back to where they were as a top 8 club, I don't think you can have Mings as a centre-back in a top 8 club, unfortunately. No hate to Mings. I've seen him play sometimes and I've praised him. But generally it's just no. So who could they replace him with? Apparently they are, as I just said, linked with Diego Carlos, and apparently it's over the line at the time of recording. I'm not too sure, so don't shoot me if I'm wrong. But if not, there's a man that I watched when I watched Europa League final who plays centre-back for Rangers, and that is Calvin Bassey. I think Calvin Bassey could come in and do a little bit of what Van Dijk did at Southampton. I think he could come into the club, do really well moving down from the Scottish League, take a first team place in that team, and then move and progress in his career. It just makes it's just a transfer for me which makes sense and is definitely worth a bet on. So for me, yeah, Calvin Bassey. And next up, we're going to go on to Chelsea. Chelsea, in my opinion, are going to need to have a really big summer. New owner, apparently he's given them 60 to 80 million to go and spend, plus player sales. I don't know. I just think they need to ace this. They can't go and blow 100 million on a player like Lukaku who's going to come in and not do much. They need somebody in, and they need a centre-back in. Rudiger's going. Silva might be past his best now. Azpilicueta is past his best. Christensen's gone. Chalobah's still too young. James is the best right back at the club, and it'd be a shame to move him into centre back where he's good but not his best. So they need a centre back, and the most linked centre back, which makes sense for me, is Jules Koundé. Has looked fantastic when he's played over in La Liga. He's a ball playing centre back, which Tuchel likes. He likes a defender that can get the ball, bring it forward, carry the ball, and he's young. He's already in the French team. He's got a few caps to his name. Jules Koundé just seems like the signing. They're going to have some competition from other clubs for him, but I think Chelsea have enough pull to land Koundé, and I think that's who they should go for. So for Chelsea, Jules Koundé. Next we move on to Everton, and for Everton, they conceded a lot of goals last season. A lot of goals. They were lucky to stay up, but they've stayed up. They've still got a bit of money to splash around. They still have players which they may need to sell now after such a poor season. Maybe we're going to see Calvert-Lewin finally move away to the likes of Arsenal or a bigger team. But yeah, no, they need somebody to come in that back line, in my opinion. They're lacking authority quality. They're lacking a little bit of experience as well, quite a young back line. Yerry Mina is good, but is very injury prone. So for me, it's going to be a hard one, but I think Everton can land him. It's going to be James Taokovsky. James Taokovsky, obviously, contracts run out. They'd be able to sign him on a free. Apparently, at the time of recording, they've already offered him 160,000 a week. It's a lot of money a week for James Taokovsky. But I think he'd be a good pick, and I think he's the most realistic signing. If you are a player who is looking at a move to the Prem as a centre-back, and you have the likes of other teams such as Villa and even Wolves and even West Ham, there's a lot more other teams in the league you could go to that have somewhat of a more passionate project going on right now where they're climbing instead of trying to stabilise. So I just think Taokovsky would be a good sign for Everton, and I think it would be a good move for Taokovsky. So Everton, Taokovsky. Up next, as my left eye starts as well due to hay fever, we have Arsenal, the mighty Gunners. They need a striker. They need a striker, and they need a striker bad. But what do they do? What's best for Arsenal? What's best for the Gunners to do right now? Do they go and sign from abroad and run that risk of, you know, maybe getting in the biggest hot prospect there is in Europe, but run the risk of them being a Premier League flop? Or do they go and pay a bit more and get somebody that has proven it in the Prem? For me, I've got two picks for this one. Number one being, and it depends how Arteta wants to play. Well, it's free. Let's say free. We've got Tammy Abraham. Could they get him? Maybe, maybe not. Chelsea still have a 60 million buyback on Abraham, and he has been brilliant his first season in Roma, and he has also proven it in the Prem before. Option 2, Gabriel Jesus. Not going to get as much game time, depending obviously on injuries and if Sterling goes or stays as well, but I think he'd be good. He's also, you know, versatile. You can swap him out to the left wing, slot him out to the left wing. Also slot him in as a 10, as a cam. He's done it before. So he's one other option. And then you've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Has proved it in the Prem, but we haven't seen him bounce back since his injury. And sometimes we know, well, it only takes one knock, one injury for a player to lose the form they had. So it's between them three, and which is most likely and which is best. I think it has to be Calvert-Lewin. I think Calvert-Lewin has to be the most realistic. I don't see Abraham when to leave yet. I think he'll stay for another season or two, and then, you know, to build his rapport. Jesus, it's too sort of, you know, it's a complicated one. As I said, it depends on injuries, depends what other players they let go instead of him potentially. If Sterling goes, I think he stays for another season. But with DCL, I just think he's the right fit. You know, he'd work well. That English front three, maybe potentially of Saka, Smith Rowe, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. It would just be dirty. It would be so filthy, and I think it would be enough if he was to come in and find the form he had when he was coming up at Everton. Arsenal could get Champions League again, and I think that's what they need. So for Arsenal, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Next we have Brentford, and this is quite an interesting one, but I think we're expecting Eriksen to leave. Just saying, that's the biggest problem I can see. There's obviously the Ivan Toney problem, but Brentford will get someone decent. They will. They had Maupay there before. They have Toney there now. They will find a promising young striker, bring him in, and he'll do well. They'll keep up their money ball. I think if Eriksen was to leave, we saw the impact he had on that team. I think that would be a slightly bigger loss personally. Don't eat me, but personally. Please don't eat me. Nom 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 nom. But as I'm saying, I don't know what sort of money they're going to have. And I don't know how much they're going to spend. Okay? So for me, I'm going to go with Joey Verman. The Dutchman at PSV, 23 years old, played 33 times for PSV over in the Dutch league with 7 goals and 11 assists. He's quite a big guy as well. Could potentially play as a false 9, but as a centre mid or cam, I think he could come to the Prem and has potential. He's also not valued that too much. His current value is around 5 to 10 million, which I think Brentford would spend. Moneyball Brentford. But yeah, I think Joey Verman might be a pick. Next up we have Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace really need a centre mid. Really bad. James McArthur's gone now. His contract's run out. Same with Kuate as well. Obviously Conor Gallagher's after going back to Chelsea after his loan spell, and I don't think they'll secure him. So they really need a centre mid. And that centre mid for me is Loser from Watford. I think we saw really, really good promise when he was in the Prem. He wasn't a struggling Watford side, which has been relegated. So I think Loser, if the money's right, would be a good pick. He's young, promising. He's already done it in the Prem to an extent, and we've seen good qualities from him, especially going into such a young, exciting team that Palace have going on at the moment with Vieira as coach. I think Loser would be a really good signing for him. So yeah, let's go for Loser. Next up, we move to Fulham down at Craven Cottage. Fulham is a really hard one to pick because they went and they splashed the cash when they came up before, spending, I don't know how much it was, I think it was about 80 million they spent, 60 million if I'm not wrong, that season they came up and went down when they got Schürrle in and a few players like that. But no, they need somebody that's going to make chances. They obviously, after losing Carvalho, looks like Carvalho, well, I think Carvalho's confirmed going to Liverpool, but they need somebody to come in with Premier League experience in that position, kind of like with Brentford losing Ericsson. And it's tough. They need a centre mid / cam that's going to make chances. You've got the likes of Winks from Tottenham. There's not much. There's not many out there. Having a really good creative centre mid / cam is a really hard asset to find. Midfielders are so hard to come by now. If it's from a good holding midfielder to a good attacking midfielder, they're so hard to find. And the ones that are there are English and cost a lot, especially in the Prem. And outside of that, you always run that risk of they're going to come over and flop. So I don't know who they're going to go for. I'm going to go one for here that makes sense, and he's been there before. There's two picks. Barkley, he doesn't play for Chelsea, and Loftus-Cheek. I think he's been there before. We've seen good spells of Loftus-Cheek this season, but I think it makes sense in a way. It's a tough one for Fulham. I really don't know. I'm looking at the team and it's like, wow, look what they've done in the Championship. But teams that do well down there don't always translate well to the Prem. We've seen that with Fulham so much when they come up and go straight back down. Yo-yo club and a half, so it's very hard to tell. But I don't know. I really, really don't know. Let's just go Loftus-Cheek. Next we move on to Leicester, and Leicester need a centre-back. Fofana has been good since coming back, not quite, in my opinion, don't eat me, has been quite good. He's been a good sign, he's young, he's promising. I still think he's going to be a world beater, but he needs a partner. Johnny Evans, he's going now. He's been good while he's been there. Thank you very much. Fair play to Johnny Evans. But they need, they have quite a high wage bill. They spend quite a lot of money over the last few years, Leicester, and they need to be challenging for them Champions League spots again. So for me, it just makes sense to go for a centre-back. You want to come in, as Ferguson said, I think it was Ferguson that said, as long as your back line's fine, the rest could do what he needs to do, or something along that lines. But anyhow, the centre-back that I'm going to go for is Akanji from Dortmund. He's valued at in and around 20 to 30 million. He's obviously a little bit older than Fofana as well, in at 26, but still at the point where he should be getting to his prime and can stay there for a good 4 to 5 years when you focus on progressing other positions and bringing up other youngsters. He's been solid for Dortmund, hasn't played a hell of a lot this season. I think he's played 36, only 26 in the Bundesliga, and he's been okay, he's been decent. He's got a good bit of experience under his belt now. Obviously he's from Switzerland and he's got some caps under his belt as well. So I think he'd just be a good signing. Bring him in, get him next to Fofana, see how it goes. Worst comes to worst, you're never going to lose too much money on him because he is a Bundesliga quality centre-back. So yeah, I think Akanji makes sense. So next I'm going to hit you with a really, really, really big one. Manchester United. There's a lot of positions here which, you could do with getting somebody in, but unfortunately it's still that back line. I don't think we're going to see Maguire ever bounce back to the form that he was at Leicester. I don't think we're going to see Lindelof really take that position by the scruff of the neck, even though I do think he's a good squad player. I don't think Revboiii is ever going to be fully fit all the time. He's just unfortunately so injury prone, even though in my opinion on his day when he plays, he's United's best centre-back. Varane not got a consistent centre-back partner. Now we know that Man United aren't scared of spending money. And for me, I think, from what I've seen, I think Kimpembe from PSG may be the man. Obviously, he's going to have a French partner at centre-back. They've played with each other before for France. He's also not too old at 26. I just think he's good. I think he's good. I think he's right. I think bringing somebody in for Varane that Varane knows, same nationality, both been in the same national setup, I think it makes sense. He's at a big club, even though it's in a Farmers League. But I think Kimpembe is right. There's obviously a lot of other ones you could go for out there, but I also don't think he's too expensive either, and I think United could get him from anywhere from 35 to maybe 50 million. But if it's going to come in, and sort out that centre-back role next to Varane, who I think has got the quality to be in a team that gets Champions League, I think Kimpembe is the man. Same logic as Leicester. I just think you start from the back and you build forward, and I think Kimpembe is the right man for that Man United team. For Brighton, which we have next, we're going for a striker again. They do need a striker. Welbeck is useful at times. Maupay is very useful at times, but they need another striker. To step up and go to that next level, they need a striker to come in. Now, this is a bit of a long shot, but I think it's doable, and I think it might work. If they can get Danny Ings, I think Villa will try him for another season, because he didn't have the best season for Villa. I think he's worth a pop. I just don't... it's hard. It's hard because it's one of them things again. If you're a young promising striker, there's a lot of teams crying out for strikers that have a lot of money that can take a risk on you. So are you going to go to Brighton? That's the question. They are a good team. Graham Potter is a fantastic young manager. He plays beautiful football. So I just think another striker, and I think Ings coming in could help them step forward short term, but long term, no. So for the long term, we're going to go for Pedro Mendes. He's playing over for Rio Ave over in the Portuguese second division. He's only valued at in and around $500,000 to $1 million, which if they were to go for somebody short term to bring him up and maybe have this guy coming on every now and again and kicking on in the background, he just looks very young and promising to me. He's a good height at 6'2", he's got a good physical build for the Premiership. He has only scored 11 this season, but he had a little bit of a knock and he had to keep playing. If you go and, you know, look at Portuguese second division of football, which I'm sure many of you don't, but it is a fantastic league. Do check it out sometime if you're bored. But look up his highlights on YouTube. He looks very promising to me. It seems like a good sign in regards to not going to cost too much. Has a good couple of games, but doesn't work out long term. You could sell him on for profit. It's not that bad of a move, just in case they are going to go for a bigger, well-known striker in the Premiership that is a little bit more proven. I think this guy is good. The young Portuguese man, Pedro Mendes. Get yourself to Brighton. Newcastle United, Cody Gakpo. Simple as 23 goal contributions, 11 assists. He's had a fantastic season, the 23-year-old over in the Dutch league for PSV. They could probably get him for around 30 to 40 million, which would be worth it as he is young and probably statistically, as I'm about to tell you, 25 goal contributions between goals and assists in only 22 starts. Unbelievable. Now, I know it is a Dutch league and it's not the Prem, but I think it would be a good move. He's very technical. He can play as a CDM, can play as a centre mid, and with Eddie Howe, you never know, you could get him to work at centre back. He's still at that age where you could put him in a position and he can make it become his craft. So, quick and simple, because there's so many options for Newcastle. They've got so much money. They've got such potential to go in there for players. They've already signed fantastically. It's a really important someone to get right. They just need to obviously make sure they're spending the right appropriate amount on each position instead of splashing the cash and then, you know, not being able to buy any more players because of FFP. So for me, yeah, Gakpo, you're in, lad. Next up we have West Ham, the Mighty Irons, and the Mighty Irons need a left back. Cresswell is good, you know, he is good, but can have poor games, you know, defensively not always fantastic, but his set pieces are, going forward he's good, but if he does pick up a knock or he does get suspended, they haven't really got anyone. So for me, I think Luke Shaw. Now bear with me. I think when Ten Hag comes in at United, he's going to be making a lot of sales that we don't expect. He's going to want to change around that dressing room, and I think he's really going to rate Telles. He was linked with Telles when he was at Ajax. I do think he may look at bringing in the likes of Tagliafico. I think there are a few other left backs like Hernandez over at AC Milan, which they would be interested in and they may spend the money on. So I could see Luke Shaw being pushed out of that United team, and if he was to leave, I think him going to the Irons would make sense for everybody involved. I think Moyes would get the best out of him again. I think we would see him start from every single game. I think he'd be phenomenal. I think it's just a perfect transfer. If they can make it happen, it doesn't cost too much, and if there is a chance of him getting outed at United, I think it makes sense on both ends greatly. So, Luke Shaw to the Irons. Bournemouth up next, and this is a very tough one. I'll be honest, I haven't watched too much of Bournemouth this season gone, but what I have seen has been decent. They've got their automatic promotion. Well done, Bournemouth. I hope you come up. I hope you prosper. I hope you do absolutely bloody fantastic. But they need a little bit more Premier League experience in that team. They're not long back from going down before. Do we want to see that happening again? No. And they need a little bit of Premier League experience. It's a good team once again that's coming up. They do have the potential to stay up. I don't think they'll finish rock bottom. I think it might be a scrap for them, but I think they could stay up if things go their way. I'm going to go with Taokovsky again. It's just that he's on a free, and he was, you know, I know a lot of people don't rate him. I know a lot of people do rate him. Personally, I think he is a Premier League quality centre-back. I think, you know, Ben Mee did start to outshine him a little bit at Burnley, but I think Taokovsky going into a new club somewhere as somebody's main centre-back, or even, he's not going to have high expectation on him. You know, when somebody goes in somewhere on a free, you don't always expect as much. There's not as much money spent on them. There's not like, oh, 10 million, oh, 20 million, oh, 66 million, whatever. It's not that bad. So I think, once again, and sorry to use the same player for two different clubs, but I think Taokovsky in a Bournemouth shirt would be good for both ends as well. It's just if Bournemouth are willing to pay as much as some other Premier League clubs that are interested in Taokovsky are. Next, we move on to Spurs, and apparently, according to papers and headlines, Conte is going to have a lot of money to spend. And we know this. We know Conte loves his wing-backs. Absolutely loves his wing-backs. And they need someone at left wing-back, without a doubt. He's Italian. He could go for the likes of Hernandez, obviously, as well. But because he's Italian, and I think he's going to want to get another one or two Italians in that squad, I think it's going to be Spinazzola. But Spinazzola, he's a fellow Italian. After the injury, I feel like his market value will be down, so they could snap him up for the likes of 20 to 30 million, maybe even 25. It is running the risk and seeing, but maybe even go for a loan. Maybe Mourinho won't like him. You never know with Mourinho with players he's going to love or hate. You don't want to get on the wrong side of Mourinho. We see what happens. But I just think that Spinazzola makes sense. I think Conte would take a chance on him. Fellow Italian, he'd come in. Ben Davies is good, don't get me wrong. He's a fantastic player, but he ain't Spinazzola quality that we've seen, and I don't think he's good enough to hold down that position. I think he's a good squad player, and he can go centre mid, he can go centre back if need be. He's kind of, you know, he's very versatile, so I just think Spinazzola makes sense for me. I don't think Hernandez, if he's going to move, once again we're mentioning Hernandez from AC, but I don't think he'd pick Tottenham as his choice if, you know, Chelsea were interested, or United were, or even Arsenal. So there's a lot of teams, a lot of places players can go, but I think Spinazzola, after the injury, knowing Conte is an Italian legend and a fantastic Italian manager, it just makes sense. So Spinazzola to Spurs, make it happen, Conte. Now, just before we get into our last four teams, and I'll tell you why four teams, today is the day after the Champions League final, when the video comes out, and I'm recording this very early morning. Our next team is Liverpool, so I just want to say, Liverpool fans, really unlucky. Great first half, second half just weren't there, but it was a good game, and well done to Real Madrid, and once again, always next year in commiserations to Liverpool fans. Huddersfield and Nottingham Forest playoff is on, so I'll be honest, it's very hard to pick. We don't know what they're going to spend, we don't know really too much. We still haven't seen any squads, you know, sell a lot of players yet, so because they're not currently Prem teams, and one of them might not be, we're going to skip over them in this video. But just while I have you, if you do enjoy this video so far as we get into the last four teams, please do consider leaving your comments down below. Let me know what you think of my picks, and what would the pick be for your favourite club. Please let me know in the comments down below. Also as well, while you're here, there's a big bell notification, right? And if you hit that, you'll know every time that we upload here on HITC Football. We'd love to have you back, like we love having you here right now. On top of that, please do consider smashing that like button. The more likes I get, the more likely I am to sleep at night. And also as well, do please hit that pretty red subscribe button. We're after doing a new schedule here at HITC, where on Tuesdays I'm here and I'm doing Hot Take Tuesday. That's where you submit your hot takes in, I have a look at them, I pick the best and the worst hot takes, and yeah, I just go through them. So if you want to be part of that video, and you want to see that video, make sure you go check it out, and you might leave a comment while you're there, and you might get into this Tuesdays, which is going to be recorded very soon, so be quick. Also, we have Transfer Thursdays, where we break down the biggest transfer news and topics and rumours that we can find, from Twitter to Sky to you name it. Fabrizio Romano, eat your heart out. Revboiii is here with the transfer news. If you want to see that, you want to let me know about that, tune in on Thursdays to check that out. Fridays is still open for a new series. If there is a series that you have in mind, please let me know. It would be greatly appreciated. I'll make sure to give you credit if it's something good, so make it good if you're going to say something about it. But if not, I'm going to pop a post soon on the community tab, which we're very active on. We put our thoughts, our opinions, we give you updates, we go through rumours and all sorts of tales that are going on in the football world. So keep an eye on our community post. And yeah, if you see the community post, make sure you check it and you pick your favourite option that we're going to do on Fridays, a new series which you decide the series. And on Sundays, I'm just going to do whatever I want, like I did today. But if you are enjoying what I did today, as I said, do all the following things. And anyway, let's be quick and snappy and get into our last 4 teams. Up first, we have Liverpool. You know what, I am a Chelsea fan, yes, because everyone can see my Chelsea bias. But I wouldn't have minded if Liverpool won the quad. I think Klopp deserved it. But the problem is with that team, it's so bloody good. You're so versatile going forward. Milner is getting on a little bit fair. Henderson is getting on a little bit fair. But I think you can do with him for another season or 2. Knae can be hit or miss. I get that. Your backline's great. Matip's fantastic. Matip is so underrated. Van Dijk is world class, as we already know. Kuate, since coming in, has been one of the signs of the season, in my opinion. You're solid at both, full-back positions. And you've got Alisson, who's one of the best in the Prem, and you've got Kelleher, one of the best young promising Irish goalkeepers there is out there. So I'm sorry, Liverpool fans, you're after getting in Carvalho as well, which is just great. I don't know who you can get. If you're going to bring somebody in, just go for somebody that's like an absolute well beater, that's just going to come in and maybe just do a little bit, then Kiate, just an impact midfielder, somebody to maybe take Oxlade-Chamberlain off the list, or maybe Gomez as he doesn't get game time anymore. I don't know. Have fun, Liverpool fans, because you don't really need anyone. So I'm sorry, Liverpool fans, you're sorted. Next up, I'm going to do 2 teams into one segment, because I think this player would be good for both. Now, this player is Jesse Lingard. Now, United, young promising player, we all know Jesse Lingard. I don't know why people still think he's young, but anyway. I think you could both do with Lingard. I think Lingard has Premier League experience. We saw what he's done at West Ham when he's gone away. It's just a matter of he is going to go to West Ham or not, but I do think West Ham don't really particularly need him. I think Southampton and Leeds need him a lot more. I think you both need a playmaker in midfield. Obviously, Rodrigo has been fantastic for Leeds. Ward-Prowse is already a good box-to-box midfielder with great creativity as well. So I just think Lingard in both of them team shirts on a free transfer makes perfect sense. Now, as I said, it's one player. I could go through loads here for both teams, but I think Lingard for Leeds, you go Lingard to Southampton, good interest in good transfer that. So that's why. So for Southampton and for Leeds, one man, Lingard. Final team, and we have Wolves. Let me just open up my book here and go through any young promising Portuguese player. But no, realistically, Wolves do need a striker. They have struggled scoring goals this season. Jimenez came back, everyone was excited. He only managed 6. He just hasn't been the same since coming back. So they do need a striker. Now, do they go out and spend big bucks, or do they go for someone young? A young Portuguese man, bring him in. We said we were going to go for a combo between who they need and most likely. So that player, for me, has to be Gonzalo Ramos. 29 games for Benfica over in the Portuguese league. Only 7 goals and 2 assists, which you might not be like, wow, but he doesn't play the full 90 of a lot of games. He does come on, he has done quite well. He also has got himself a Champions League goal. He's going to be available probably from around 10 to 15 million. And I do think he is on the books of the super agents, which we will keep unnamed because it is wrong what they do. But yeah, no, I think Gonzalo Ramos could come in, he could play second fiddle, he could come on in games and see how he does. I just think it's low budget, he's Portuguese, it suits Wolves well, and they could easily snap him up. They've got that sort of money, they've got super agents in their ranks at their team, so why not? And that just about wraps up the video. I'm not going to ask you to do all the stuff that you should be doing, but if you do, it'll be greatly appreciated. Please give the video a like, give it a share, tell your friends about it, tell your mum, tell your dad, tell your nanny, tell your dog, tell everyone you know. Why not? Revboiii is here for the time being, and I hope you're happy with that, and I hope you're happy about my picks. Let me know about your picks down in the comment section below, and that's pretty much it. Bye!